Hello and welcome to another episode of Would You Rather. Caroline and I are going to talk about two different movies because, we just had an election in the United States and, well, maybe some things are going to change about democracy in the world and all of that. So we are going to talk about The Purge, election year, and Atlas with J-Lo. So, yeah. Please press the buttons and the thumbs and subscribe and talk to us and do all that stuff. Thank you. Caroline, how are you back from your European adventures?
I am. I'm back. I was away actually for election day. So, but it did, all of that run up to it. And then, of course, the aftermath made me think of that we had to do something. There are movies there that fit the genre. And when I saw Atlas, I was like, wait a minute. Are they actually using the name Neuralink in the movie? Was that a paid product placement? I don't know. But I even had to look up and say, well, maybe it's not exactly Neuralink, but it is.
Anyway, Neuralink.
Yeah, but see, brain chip. So it's not as simple as, okay, I'm going to drop into a robot and all of a sudden decide to sync with this robot. So they're putting stuff in people's brains. It is happening big time. There we go. Neuralink. So life imitates art, imitates life. I mean, I don't know. It's too much. It's too much. But Atlas, I felt like was good for us to talk about, one, because it's so timely with this whole Neuralink tie-in. And then also because, we always talk about, are there people of color in this movie? And it was a Benetton out of a movie. I mean, it was checking off the boxes. They were like, yeah.
And J-Lo produced this, and she's one of the executive producers, which I think she is with all her movies. So like she meant it, but it was really well done. Like it was really all well done, and it hit all the notes it was supposed to, and there you go.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun popcorn flick. It's exciting. I would like to have more of Simu in the movie. I mean, I thought he was just kind of like in the beginning and in the end, and just the idea of him. And I thought that was a miss for me because I like him and I think he's good. And I wanted to see the two of them get at it. But again, it's like tied to real life. It checks off all our boxes. It doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
Not even
because she is the only woman essentially in this movie. I mean,
right.
And even her bot is a man.
Yeah, it's man bot.
Yeah.
She syncs with a man bot.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting. I mean, they had a little bit of flashback with the mom, but there wasn't really anything substantive there.
No, it thoroughly doesn't pass the Bechdel test. And it doesn't pass the intelligent conversation between two humans at any point. But, it's not there for that. So fail on the Bechdel test, pass on multiculti, epic brownness going on, right? I guess that's it. Is there anything else to say about Atlas that we should talk about? I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward.
No, honestly, if I wanted to talk more about a J-Lo movie, I'd want to talk about like Marry Me or something fun. I feel like her rom-com stuff is really fun, but this is not the channel for that. So
and I am not the co-host for that because I've avoided that all.
You're not a rom-com.
Yeah,
guy.
Like the plague, I've avoided that. So I've never seen any of those, and you should enjoy. I think you and a bunch of other people on Netflix do enjoy it.
I do enjoy my J-Lo rom-coms. I've seen many of them. So anyway, to the Purge election year, which of course inspired this edition.
All right. anything else we should talk about Florida specifically? Is there any Florida man?
Well, I do have a Florida. I mean, I think it's more relevant for the next thing. And honestly, every time we talk about specifically president-elect, we are talking about the ultimate Florida man, right? So I felt like I didn't even need a Florida article for this particular episode because we were already going to be talking about Purge election year. Came up in mass media, right? Like it totally came up. Are we going to do a purge? The verdict's still out, of course, because the transition to new president hasn't happened. But I don't know if you remember this story, but it burst out all over. That's what made me think of Purge. So he was just referencing the uptick in shoplifting and these organized retail thefts. And so he said something to the effect of, if we could just let the police have one really violent day, right? That's where that quote comes from. There wouldn't be any thefts. And then all of social media was abuzz with, wait a minute, isn't that the plot of the Purge? Which it isn't exactly, but it is this notion of, if we just let people have everybody for one day, right? Yeah. So the Purge is specifically everybody. He was specifically mentioning the police in response to crimes. But I mean, with social media all abuzz, I mean, we have to talk about it. And I love the Purge. I saw the Purge late in the game. I loved all of them. So I've seen the 3 movies. I haven't seen the series, but it took me a while to see it because I'm not a big, like, very, very violent. Like I was concerned it was going to be very violent. And obviously the plot is all about that. But the movies are surprisingly, I think, not gratuitous at all. I don't think that they're graphic. And so
No.
so I actually like them. Although I have to say, Purge election year, which we selected to talk about for this episode because of the obvious tie-in, was probably my least favorite of the 3.
Me too. I was going to say that. Yeah.
You know, although I was glad that Frank Grillo comes back. I really like him. I thought
everybody loves Grillo. How can you not love Grillo?
He's good. I like him. I think of it as
he's also in a lot of those Marvel movies. He's in the whole Marvel MCU, so he shows up a lot.
Okay, you talk Marvel, I'll talk rom-com. Okay, that's like kind of how that is there. Oh my gosh, I am so confused. I'll watch them for entertainment value, but then I'm like, who was that and what just happened and who and what, are they sisters? Like I just don't even know what is happening.
It's hard to keep track.
Yeah. So I didn't realize he was in the Marvel universe, but yeah, I liked him in the second one and now he's in this one. And yeah, the movie has nothing to do. Well, it has a little bit to do with shoplifting, actually, because those ladies came a couple of times to take down the store.
Yeah.
Right. That's actually.
And the base of operations is the store, sort of, to start. I mean, and then they, run off through the streets and do all sorts of stuff. I'm struck by your comment though with Trump. I didn't know that he did that. I'm not as socially on as I maybe should be. But he wants the police to have one good day of violence. Not everybody, just the police, unless of course they're protecting the Capitol. Then they're not allowed to. But the idea that Trump would institute something like the Purge, I mean, who knows? I wouldn't be amazed if he tried to do something like that, like actually. But hopefully we will not live in that dystopian world, or if we do, I'll be in Mexico and you'll be in Spain, so maybe we won't have to live through it. Yeah.
We'll just skip it altogether. It's so interesting, this movie. Yes, again, all the colors of the world, the Benetton ad, the Purge always kind of checks off those boxes.
But everybody fighting against, the powers that be are Betty Gabriel and Edwin Hodge and Michael E.T. Williamson. Yeah.
Yeah, so they always check that. And then regarding the Bechdel test, yeah, I mean, one could say certainly like the key Elizabeth Mitchell's
Elizabeth Mitchell.
character. Yeah, she has conversations with everybody, although it's a very male cast, but there are still some, like certainly they're the two ladies that try to take over the retail store are
Right.
trying to do it and have nothing to do with wanting to please a guy. I mean, they are just evil through and through and want to get into the store. Just no romance to speak anywhere. There's
well, yeah, there's not sort of like Frank Grillo and Betty Gabriel don't sort of fall in love or anything like that. And yeah, I don't know that I'm a little dubious about giving this a Bechdel win, just because those two women are like the witches in Macbeth. You know what I mean? Like,
right, they're just there to represent the evil.
Evil,
yeah,
they're just evil. So I don't know. I don't know that there's a whole lot of conversation to be had anywhere about anything deep, but certainly not between the two women. I think it's a Bechdel fail. Like, we have two Bechdel fails here, not because they were trying or not trying, but it's a Bechdel fail. The interaction of human beings is not important, which is something interesting to say about movies. But anyway, and our dystopian possible future, the interaction of human beings is not the point.
Well, which is another tie-in to this run up and aftermath of the election, right? I feel like there was not a lot of discourse, or not a lot of back and forth. One could argue that we're right now in a Bechdel fail, that there isn't a lot of conversation going on, and women don't have much of a voice. So specifically a Bechdel fail there. But, now we're at the question of the hour, right? The would you rather, which world would you rather inhabit? So we have a place where AI has run amok and you basically have to, in order to even survive it, get a Neuralink, or you have the Purge, where it's in the furthest recesses of the government, right? That we have to have a Purge election year. So why don't you go first, since I teed up the question? I usually go first, so you can go first this time.
All right. So between Neuralink, I'm stuck on I'm J-Lo, right? I'm stuck on the planet, or I'm. I mean, my choices are being J-Lo or Sterling K. Brown, who died and got his eye poked. So I got to choose J-Lo, or be Grillo, basically, right? I mean, running around fighting the good fight in the Purge world. I'm absolutely taking the Purge. I want to be Grillo. I want to fight the good fight. I want to protect the innocents and the store and bring down fascism. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't even a would you rather. This is like a Bruce 14-year-old fantasy. I'm right there. I'm right there. And you?
And me. Yeah, I feel like when I look at these would you rather scenarios, I think of myself not as, okay, would I inhabit any of these characters? I think of myself as myself.
Yeah,
what would be happening in this world.
Right.
And I feel like, I feel like they're actually kind of equal in a way for me, because with the Purge, I feel like there's that scene in election year where there are clearly these Purge tourists that come specifically for the day to partake in our national holiday, cool. If you will. Right.
That's an intellectual, cool part of that story. I like that. That's cool.
But I feel like I would be the opposite of that. Like, I would just never even be there. I would just leave. And similarly and I guess this is what makes, I think, at the Atlas world much more difficult, is that it is so ingrained everywhere that it doesn't seem like you could live off the grid, if you will. It wasn't clear to me that there was any place left that was off the grid, that everybody seemed to be neurolinked and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm with you on the purge, but for very, very different reasons. I would just make sure that every holiday I took just overlapped with the purge. And I just don't understand why people would stay. But I guess, yeah, some people can't afford to leave. And that's why the purge is a regressive tax on society.
Deep. That'll be the next. Maybe that's in the series. We both haven't watched the series, but yeah, like who gets to leave, right? Or do you get to leave? Maybe the government doesn't let you leave on purge,
yeah,
but then there'll be a black market, and Elon Musk would be able to leave. Actually, he'd probably stay in his bunker. He'd build some sort of neurolinked, Tesla bunker or SpaceX bunker,
or he'd stay and be in a Tesla tank running around
shooting people up. Yeah. So we've closed it out. Both Caroline and I would rather be in the purge, which is good because maybe it's happening, and it's probably a little bit closer than the Neuralink Atlas and going to another planet and fighting AI that took over JLo's childhood. So it's better for us to be ready for election year, the purge, because that one's a little closer to possibly happening. So good on us, Caroline. I think we're ready. And there you go. Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. Thank you very much for joining us for another episode, an election year special of Would You Rather, the Purge versus Atlas. And we look forward to seeing you again soon on Would You Rather. Bye.